Imagine this: one of the smartest leaders of the 20th century, a man who took a tiny fishing village and turned it into one of the richest and most advanced countries, looked at the Philippines and shook his head. He saw something coming, something dangerous. He spoke about it, warned everyone, but nobody listened. That man was Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of modern Singapore. His words about the Philippines were ignored. But why? What did he say that was so important? And why, decades later, do his warnings seem more real than ever? Sit tight, because we're about to dive into Lee Kuan Yew's final warning about the Philippines. His brutally honest words, the history behind them, and how his predictions might be coming true right now. To understand why his warning matters, we first need to understand the man behind it. Lee Kuan Yew was not just another politician. He was a visionary, a master strategist, and the architect of Singapore's rise. He took a poor, struggling island with no resources and turned it into one of the wealthiest nations in the world. He saw things others couldn't. And when he looked at the Philippines, what he saw deeply worried him. But what exactly did he say? And why are his words more relevant today than ever before? Let's find out. In 1965, Singapore was in deep trouble. It had no natural resources, no big industries, and no real military to protect itself. The country was struggling with high unemployment, and tensions between different groups threatened to break it apart. Many believed Singapore wouldn't survive on its own. But then came Lee Kuan Yew, a leader with a clear vision and an iron will. He built a government that was efficient, disciplined, and free of corruption. Instead of allowing favoritism, he made sure that success was based on hard work and skill, not family connections. He had zero tolerance for corruption, enforcing strict rules to keep officials honest. Education became his top priority, ensuring that future generations would be smart, skilled, and ready to compete globally. Lee's leadership was not always gentle. He used tough laws and strict policies to keep order, making sure Singapore stayed stable. Some called him ruthless, but the results were undeniable. In just a few decades, Singapore transformed from a poor island nation into one of the richest countries in the world, with one of the highest GDPs per capita. Now, let's compare this to the Philippines in the 1960s. Back then, the Philippines was seen as one of Asia's most promising nations. Manila, often called the Pearl of the Orient, was a modern and booming city with a strong economy and a growing middle class. Many believed the Philippines would be Asia's next big success story. But history took a different turn. The Philippines was once seen as a rising star in Asia, home to some of the best universities and a highly educated workforce. Many believed it was on track to become one of the most advanced nations in the region, even ahead of countries like Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea. But something changed. While its neighbors surged ahead, the Philippines stagnated. What went wrong? Decades of political instability, corruption, and poor leadership slowly dragged the country down. Roads, bridges, and public services fell into disrepair. Industries weakened, and the economy struggled. Instead of focusing on long-term growth, leaders prioritized personal gain, enriching themselves while the people suffered. Other nations made tough choices, invested in their future, and built strong economies. But the Philippines remained stuck. This is where the harsh warning from Lee Kuan Yew, the founder of modern Singapore, comes in. He did not hold back. He once said, "The Philippines is a country with great people, but a soft, forgiving culture. It does not punish its leaders for their mistakes, especially those in power." Could this be the reason the Philippines fell behind? While others enforced discipline and accountability, corruption thrived in the Philippines. Leaders were rarely punished, and past mistakes kept repeating. So, the big question remains: can the Philippines still turn things around, or will history keep repeating itself? Think about that for a moment. A soft, forgiving culture. What did he really mean by that? Lee Kuan Yew believed that a country's success depended on discipline, strict laws, and accountability. He saw Filipinos as talented, hardworking, and adaptable. When they moved abroad, they often excelled under structured systems, proving that their potential was never the problem. The real issue, he believed, was the environment they lived in. But he also saw deep flaws in governance and culture. Corruption was widespread, and inefficiency plagued the system. Worst of all, many Filipinos seemed to tolerate wrongdoing. He watched as powerful politicians stole public money and yet faced little or no punishment. Even when accused of massive corruption, many leaders escaped justice, and shockingly, were often re-elected by the same people they had betrayed. The justice system moved painfully slow. Cases dragged on for years, sometimes decades, allowing the rich and powerful to manipulate the law in their favor. High-profile corruption scandals rocked the country, but real consequences were rare. Instead of being punished, many corrupt officials lived comfortably, knowing they could buy their way out of trouble. Lee Kuan Yew admired the potential of Filipinos, but believed their own leaders and culture were holding them back. Was he right, or was his view too harsh? Time and time again, the same cycle repeated. A shocking scandal would explode. People would take to the streets in anger, demanding justice. The media would be filled with outrage, but then, just as quickly, the noise would die down. Life would return to normal. The scandal would fade from memory, and the same mistakes would happen again. This endless loop worried Lee Kuan Yew, who saw it as the biggest obstacle to the Philippines' success. Unlike in Singapore, where he built a strict, corruption-free system, the Philippines seemed stuck in a culture of forgiveness over accountability. In Singapore, any official caught in misconduct, no matter how powerful, faced immediate and severe punishment. Lee believed that strict discipline was key to building a strong nation. Without it, corruption would spread like a disease. If laws were not strictly enforced, institutions would weaken. If leaders lacked discipline, mismanagement and inefficiency would hold the country back. So, was he right? Decades have passed, yet the same problems still haunt the Philippines. Corruption scandals come and go, but real change remains elusive. Without true accountability, can a country ever reach its full potential? The Philippines has been struggling with the same deep-rooted problems for decades. Political dynasties still control the government. Corruption cases drag on for years, sometimes never getting resolved, and people have little trust in public institutions. Scandals and incompetence have eroded confidence, leaving many wondering, can the Philippines ever break free from this cycle? Or will it always be a country full of potential, but held back by its own unwillingness to demand real change? Let's take a step back in time. In the 1960s, the Philippines was one of the most promising economies in Asia. The country had a booming manufacturing industry, a well-educated workforce, and a rapidly growing middle class. At one point, the Philippines was wealthier than South Korea. Its infrastructure was expanding, and it played a major role in the region's economy. Many saw it as a model for developing nations. But something went wrong. While countries like South Korea surged ahead, the Philippines struggled. Corruption, political greed, and a lack of long-term planning caused stagnation. Today, despite its rich resources and hardworking people, the nation still grapples with the same issues that have held it back for generations. Will things ever change? In the past, the Philippines was once seen as one of Asia's most promising economies. It even had enough wealth to lend money to South Korea, a country still struggling to recover from the devastation of the Korean War. But while other nations like Singapore and South Korea chose the path of strict discipline, strong economic reforms, and rapid industrial growth, the Philippines took a different road, one filled with political chaos, corruption, and poor decision-making. By the 1970s, Singapore had already transformed itself into a global industrial and financial hub. The Singaporean government focused on good leadership, rewarding talent, and attracting foreign investment. Meanwhile, South Korea, under the rule of Park Chung-hee, aggressively pushed for economic growth through export-driven industries, land reforms, and large-scale manufacturing. These countries knew that success required sacrifice, so they tightened policies, encouraged innovation, and built world-class industries. Meanwhile, the Philippines was stuck in a cycle of unstable leadership, corruption, and short-term fixes that failed to create real progress. While South Korea and Singapore were rising to first world status, the Philippines was falling behind, missing its chance to become an Asian economic powerhouse. The question remains, what went wrong? Could the Philippines have followed the same success path as its neighbors, or was its downfall inevitable? Not long ago, South Korea and the Philippines were on a similar economic path. But today, South Korea is a global powerhouse, while the Philippines has struggled to keep up. So, what happened? South Korea made smart investments in key industries like steel, shipbuilding, and electronics, turning the country into a major exporter. Companies like Samsung, Hyundai, and LG grew into global giants, driving economic success. Meanwhile, the Philippines took a different turn, one that led to crisis. In 1972, President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law, tightening his grip on power. While his government launched infrastructure projects, corruption and reckless borrowing pushed the country into crippling debt. By the 1980s, the economy was collapsing, inflation soared, jobs disappeared, and foreign investors lost trust. Instead of growing wealth, billions of dollars vanished into the pockets of the ruling elite. As the Philippines struggled, South Korea raced ahead. By the late 20th century, it had built a strong, modern economy. Meanwhile, Singapore also surged forward, becoming a global hub for finance and technology, with one of the highest GDP per capita figures in the world. Lee Kuan Yew saw all of this coming long ago. He repeatedly warned that the Philippines had everything it needed to succeed: rich resources, smart people, and a prime location. But what was missing? Strong leadership, discipline, and accountability. He believed that without firm governance, a real fight against corruption, and a solid long-term economic plan, the country would keep falling behind. And now, decades later, the same problems still hold the Philippines back. Corruption, political instability, and poor infrastructure continue to block progress, while neighboring Southeast Asian countries surge ahead. Why? Because good leadership and smart governance can either lift a country up or drag it down. Take a hard look around today. Are corrupt politicians still winning elections? Is the justice system slow and unfair? Are public funds wasted while people struggle? If the answer is yes, then Lee Kuan Yew wasn't just making a guess, he was predicting the future. And that future is still playing out today. The big question is, will the Philippines break free from this cycle, or will history keep repeating itself? Right before our eyes, we see that warnings don't always mean disaster. Sometimes they are a wake-up call. History has proven that change is possible with the right leadership, discipline, and vision. Take Singapore, for example. Today, it's one of the world's richest and most stable nations. But did you know that in the 1960s, Singapore was struggling? It faced poverty, ethnic tensions, and political instability, and many doubted its future. But one man, Lee Kuan Yew, saw an opportunity where others saw failure. Instead of accepting defeat, Singapore's leaders cracked down on corruption, prioritized education, and pushed for economic growth with strict policies and long-term planning. The results? A tiny nation with no natural resources became a global economic powerhouse. Now, let's talk about the Philippines. Like early Singapore, the Philippines has huge potential. A young and hardworking population, rich natural resources, and a key position in global trade. But here's the truth: potential alone is not enough. Without bold action, corruption control, and real economic reform, progress will remain just a dream. Singapore made the hard choices. Can the Philippines do the same? The future is wide open, but success won't come by chance. It will take courage, sacrifice, and smart leadership. The Philippines must take brave and serious steps to bring real change. This means making government institutions stronger, ensuring leaders are accountable, and expecting more from those in power. It's about choosing skills over political favors, education over entertainment, and long-term progress over quick and easy gains. Change is never easy. It takes time, effort, and determination. But history proves it can be done. Singapore is a perfect example. It transformed from a struggling nation into one of the world's most successful countries. If Singapore could do it, why can't the Philippines? The real question is, will the Philippines learn from past mistakes or repeat them? When Lee Kuan Yew spoke about the country's challenges, he wasn't trying to insult the Philippines. He was giving it a harsh but honest reality check. His words were not meant to put the nation down, but to wake it up. He wanted the Philippines to think, learn, and rise above its problems. The truth is, the Philippines has everything it needs to succeed. Singapore's success was not luck. It was built on discipline, responsibility, and a government that cared about its people more than politics. The Philippines can follow the same path, but it must act now before it's too late. The Philippines is a country full of potential, with a rich culture, hardworking people, and moments of strong economic growth. But despite this, deep-rooted problems continue to hold it back. Corruption, weak institutions, and political dynasties have kept power in the hands of a few, making real progress difficult. Many believe that as long as short-term leadership and self-serving politicians remain in control, history will keep repeating itself. But change is always possible. The Filipino people have shown incredible strength, surviving hardships and bouncing back from crises time and time again. The big question is, can the Philippines break free from this cycle? Can it build a government that truly serves its people instead of protecting the interest of a few? Or will the same problems continue, allowing poverty, inefficiency, and lost opportunities to drag the country down for future generations? Years ago, Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of Singapore, warned that the Philippines would struggle to progress if it did not fix its governance. Will the country prove him wrong and rise to its full potential? Or will his words continue to ring true as the same issues keep holding the nation back? The answer depends on whether the Filipino people demand real change or accept things as they are.